It's been a horror long weekend on our roads, with 11 people losing their lives over the Anzac break. So where are we going wrong? AA Road Safety spokesperson Dylan Thompson and Students Against Dangerous Driving National Manager Donna Goverko, who is a former police sergeant, both join me now. Good morning, Dylan and Donna. Thanks very much for being with me.
Good morning.
Dylan, if I can start with you. This time last week, we had Inspector Peter McKenny on the program. He said that crashes were due to bad driving, not bad roads. Do you agree?
Well, I think that it's a combination of a whole range of factors. You know, when we see crashes, they generally don't just involve one thing going wrong. They involve multiple things that all come together in tragic outcomes. So, you know, the quality of our roads is one factor that does have an impact on road safety. The vehicles people are in is another factor, the speeds people are travelling at, and ultimately driver behaviour, the choices we make, what people do behind the wheel or when they're riding. Those are often the key events that start off that chain of actions. So, you know, driver behaviour is crucial, but there's a range of a whole bunch of figures.
Yeah, Donna, do you agree that it is both driver behaviour and roads?
Yeah, we do agree as well. We see that it's, roads definitely need to be maintained and we need to continue to build good roads. But yeah, driver behaviour is a large factor in a number of crashes that we see, especially serious injuries and fatal crashes. It's a lot down to people, the choices people are making to drive impaired or to speed, to not drive to the conditions, and those inexperienced drivers just not taking driving seriously enough.
So Donna, are we teaching drivers when they're at that learning stage the skills to actually drive safely on New Zealand roads?
There's a mixture. There are some really good driving schools out there that are teaching young people, but unfortunately not all young people, and not just young people or adults, are taking up those professional lessons. There are a lot of people just learning to drive from their parents who have bad habits. Also, we have a variety of roads across New Zealand, so not everybody is learning to drive on all types of road conditions. So if you're in rural New Zealand, you're not understanding how to drive in cities. So yeah, there's a need for more driver training and education, and just not just about driving, but also about learning what it means to actually be a responsible driver.
So Dylan, should there be tighter rules around who can actually teach somebody to drive?
Well, there are actually very strict rules for who can become a driving instructor.
But you can learn just from your parents, right? You don't have to go to a driving instructor.
No,
obviously for the test you do, but not to learn.
Well, obviously we would encourage people to get professional lessons because we think that they can play a key role in helping people get off to that good start. But the other thing I'd say is, as parents, if you have somebody who's learning to drive right now, there's a whole heap of things that you can do. There's a lot of resources online you can look at to help, but also it's just about clocking up the hours and experience. You know, give those young people every opportunity to drive in all sorts of different conditions while you are in the passenger seat. Just make them the main driver, because the more hours that they clock up, the more experience they get, the safer that they are going to be.
Donna, is encouraging young people to have professional lessons enough? Do we need to say, actually, there comes a time when you have to go out and get professional lessons? You can't just learn from your parents anymore, because we're not getting any better on the roads. 11 people over the weekend.
Look, we're always going to encourage people to get professional lessons, because driving instructors go through a massive training session where they know what the dangers are on the roads. They actually teach to those dangers, and they encourage people to take up, safe driving habits and choices. But it's larger than that as well. It actually means that, we need to start looking at how we introduce road safety into our whole, society. We don't really teach road safety at schools, other than, the other few road safety organisations that go into school, like us and others. And we just need to make sure that there's a change of culture in this country where we actually start to understand that road safety needs to be taken seriously, and stop these awful tragedies happening on our roads.
Donna, what about all the money that is spent on these road safety campaigns? Is it worth it?
Oh, look, advertising, yeah, it gets it out there. There's different mediums and people look at them, and there's definitely lots of discussion around them, and it gets people talking. So I think the more we can actually get people talking about road safety, the better, and people not just blaming everybody else about it, but actually understanding that it's everybody's responsibility. Yeah, we could wait for new roads to be built, but let's understand that we can actually adjust our driving behaviours to suit the conditions of the roads as well. So we need to all start to understand that we can all play a part.
Dylan, let's look at the condition of the roads though. In 2019, a mum and 2 babies were killed at a rural Canterbury intersection. A coroner has just ruled that it was partly contributed to by a lack of signs and trees, and has called for a national review into rural intersections. Do you think that should be carried out?
Oh, absolutely. We know that there's numerous intersections around the country that aren't up to the standard they should be. And I mean, that can be as simple as things like trees and shrubs growing over signs, or signage and road markings becoming really faded and hard to see, especially if it's wet or in certain conditions. So we actually have really good data on where the highest risk intersections in the country are, where we have the highest crash rates. So that would be a good place to start, looking over all those.
And is anything being done to fix those intersections?
There is a program of work through Waka Kotahi to upgrade a number of those intersections. So, yes, plans are underway. Lots of times these things don't happen as quickly as we would like. But as Donna said, it's also a question of what we can do as individuals, and that comes down to the choices we make, how we drive, and driving to the conditions again, like Donna said.
It must be disappointing for you to know that there are dangerous intersections in place, that there are plans to deal with it, and you're still just waiting for it to be done.
Well, if there was a magic wand that could be waved and roads across the country and all the sort of known crash black spots could be fixed tomorrow, I would love that. That'd be fantastic. But we know that's not going to happen. It is going to take time. And we do need to commit really strongly to upgrading our roads a lot more across the country.
AA Road Safety spokesperson Dylan Thompson and Students Against Dangerous Driving National Manager Donna Gavorko, thanks very much for joining us.